What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube world? This is your boy John Q coming at you. This is a ride on the Dualtron X2. I rode it for 27 miles with all the settings on max, and I just let it rip on this ride. I really thoroughly enjoyed this ride more than I could say, but one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of do a little voiceover on this video and share my experience about riding the DX2 is because I'm at a point now with the DX2 where I know in my heart of hearts that I'm ready for that next level experience. That's why I've went ahead and pulled the trigger on my purchase of the Rion Thrust. But the Dualtron X2 is an amazing machine. I mean, with a seat on it, this machine rides just like a motorcycle. And I don't know why it's not in the category of a motorcycle, because I was ripping this joint at speeds of up to 60 miles per hour on this ride alone. And the only reason why I was pushing it at that speed is because some of the roads that I had to travel on were like highway roads. And rather than getting in a situation where riding at a slow speed would congest traffic, I chose to just pump it a little bit and go ahead and ride at the speed of traffic. And and let me add also that I've talked to the local authorities in my hometown about riding my hyper scooter on the highway or on the roads here in my hometown. I live in a small town. And the guys down at the police station, they were pretty cool with me riding my scooter at the speed of traffic, so long as I did so safely and not recklessly. And and on my rides, I've been riding over 2 years now, and on my rides, I've learned a lot of things. There's still a lot of things that I have to learn. But wearing the appropriate protective equipment is like #1 on the list of things that you have to do in order to ride a beast like this on the road and in high-speed traffic. But I don't like riding at high speeds. I prefer to ride generally at 35 to 45 miles per hour, and just basically cruise. But on this trip, I found that riding my scooter is not only just a hobby for me. It's a therapeutic session that I have with every ride. And just for a second, imagine yourself being a person. Well, I don't think you can imagine yourself being a person like this, but a person with PTSD, a person who previously lived out their days constantly paranoid over things that happen, traumatic things that happen in their life, and then basically isolating yourself from the rest of the world, and then finally one day realizing that there's something else out there that can relieve you of the stresses and the tension that often come with that type of psychology. Well, that's what hyper scooters have done for me. No, I'm not a speed demon. I'm not a person chasing after some crazy fanatic experience while I'm riding, but I'm basically a person who have found something that gives me the opportunity to explore life just beyond being a victim of some type of psychological disorder. And in previous videos, I mentioned that I pretty much canned a lot of the therapeutic sessions that I was having for my PTSD in favor of my experience of riding hyper scooters. So that's why I ride. I ride for therapeutic purposes. And don't get me wrong, I know that when you have a serious disorder, you have to go through protocols and different things to acknowledge that disorder. But for me, riding hyper scooters, it seems to give me an experience that explores all the negative nuances of having PTSD. When I'm on my ride, I find moments where I have connection with the environment around me, where I have excitement, where I have that adrenaline rush, where I have that feeling like I'm back in the midst of things that once inspired me to a point where I thought that those were the only and most important things in my life. So riding is not just a hobby for me. It's a therapeutic session on every ride that I take. And here on this ride, one of the things that I realize is that I have transcended beyond the Dualtron X2. You know, I've thought about other scooters like the Dualtron Storm Limited, for instance. I've also looked at quite a few other types of scooters as well. I mean, the Hunter Quad, some of the Weeped versions, etc. Because, and I'm just calling out scooters that are in the hyper scooter category only. But the one scooter that inspired me more than anything, and I'm a range guy, but this particular scooter, it doesn't have spectacular range. But however, this scooter inspired me because it has the potential to satisfy everything that I'm looking for in a scooter. And that's why I went with the Rion Thrust. I'm a 51-year-old guy. I like long rides. But however, my general average mile ride is around 20 to 25 miles. And then that's enough scooting for me. I mean, I have tendonitis in my knees. So, in a nutshell, after riding over a lot of bumpy terrain and potholes and you name it for that long of a period of time, that's enough riding for me. However, back to my reason for choosing the Rion Thrust. I know a lot of people would say, man, that is a very expensive scooter. I would not pay that much money for a scooter. However, you're not me. I'm a person who believes in working to have what it is that I want and what satisfies my desires when it comes to this hyper scooter experience. And I chose to go with the Rion Thrust because it's the scooter for me. Just as Gail mentioned in the preview video about how the Rion scooters are made. And that's me. When he said that, that was just like a direct message to the best scooter for me, John Q. And on this ride here, man, I'm telling you, I was just like spazzing out. I was taking curves at about 35, 40 miles per hour, and I was just enjoying the moment. I mean, the Dualtron X2 it's an awesome and solidly built scooter, you know. However, the experience gets even better when you have a scooter that, has the potential to propel you at higher speeds. Of course, I won't be riding the Rion Thrust as fast as it can possibly go. I will not be doing that. That is not my aim for getting the Rion Thrust. My aim for getting the Rion Thrust is because of its potential. Its technology has the potential to be something special in whatever situation I find myself in. It might be taking a curve and having the ability to lean a little more so than I would be able to do so on the Dualtron X2. It might be in a situation where the traffic is high and there's a high speed, speed limit on that traffic. I can propel down the street for short bursts at speed limits that will get me out of the danger zone, so that I'm not like that bicyclist that's riding in traffic and traffic is just zooming by him, with the potential to hit him, And on this ride, I just rode around through my downtown area, not worried about battery fatigue with the 72-volt battery in the Dualtron X2. At one point, I even stopped and I put my battery save mode on 2, just so I could extend my range and ride a little farther if I wanted to. But the thing about hyper scooters is you have that option. There's a lot of scooters on the market right now, some of which, I wouldn't recommend anyone to buy, some of which, because of my own personal preference, that is. But I'm not going to be the person that's going to sit here and make bad reviews or say bad things about scooters that I have not owned or experienced. But what I will say is that with the Dualtron X2, one of the main features of the X2 that a lot of people overlook is that it has an extra battery for for the lighting that generally sucks about 15 watts of power out of your main battery if you did not have that external battery. And that alone extends your range. That alone gives you the opportunity to know that your scooter is functioning with full power being directed at your motors that are responsible for giving you your speed, that are responsible for giving you your range. So that's a feature that I love about the Dualtron X2. And I don't know if anyone else can relate, but having that seat that I'm sitting on right now on the Dualtron X2, man, is that a luxury. And it's a luxury because you have two 19-step adjustable suspensions on the Dualtron X2 that makes for an amazing ride. I mean, I've hit potholes, I've hit cracks in the road, I've ran over speed bumps, and that suspension took those things like a champ. I mean, and then also, whenever you're riding on the Dualtron X2 and you're feeling the experience of those suspensions, your body is not taking the bumps. It's like the weight of the scooter combined with those suspension is just basically soaking up everything in the road in front of you. And that's an amazing experience. Now, I could go on and on and on about the suspension, but also the power. I can talk about the power as well. The way this scooter picks up power is awesome. I mean, I can be cruising at 35 miles per hour, roll my throttle just a little harder, and next thing you know, I'm riding 55 miles per hour easily. And then, am I seeing a constant drop in my battery power No. It seems like I've never ever ran the DX2 completely out of power on any of my rides. I've done that with the Wolf Warrior, my other scooter, for probably about 3 to 4 times. But with the Dualtron X2, man, this scooter, it seems like the power just keeps going. Even when I'm below 30% in battery power and I'm getting the blinking on my display that lets me know that, I'm pushing the level of low battery power, it still doesn't drain out completely. I pushed it all the way down to 28%, and that was on a 47-mile ride. And on that 47-mile ride, I was back and forwards. I had it in battery save mode 2, I had it in max battery save mode, and then I had it in max, and I was riding at speeds of 35 miles per hour. Then I jumped up to 55 miles per hour, and I even had a stint where I rode it like 60 miles per hour. And and then my higher speeds, I was mostly hitting those higher speeds in short spurts, but not long spurts. And on this ride right here, though, I had like 4 mile, 6 mile stretches where I was just pumping this beast at 55, 60 miles per hour when I was on the highway areas. And there were times when I even had to slow down for the traffic in front of me. And to me, that is quite impressive. And of course, I don't ride recklessly. I always ride carefully, and I always ride with consideration of the experience that I've gained over the 2 years that I've been riding hyper scooters. But back to the Rion Thrust once again. This scooter, the ingenuity behind Gal Thompson's creation of the Rion Thrust, the technology involved in its making, all of those things are just so impressive to me. And at this point, I'm at the beginning stages of the waiting process, which I know is going to, it's probably going to take close to a year, if that. But you know what? In my book, it's well worth the wait. And with only about 1,500 miles or more on the Dualtron X2, I think I got a very worthy machine that will hold me over as I wait for my next experience with the Rion Thrust. One of the things that I also like about riding hyper scooters is that the freedom I feel when I'm out riding is just simply amazing. I mean, there's so many beautiful scenes that I always catch. There's moments when I'm riding where I feel like I'm just totally at one with everything around me. I can go on and on about that side of the whole experience as well. I guess the next side of my experience will be determining what features or what colors, settings, and what color, styles I want on my Rion Thrust. I haven't gotten to that part of the whole scenario yet, and I'll be getting in contact with Gail Thompson as well as the guys at Rion to discuss that whenever the time comes. But I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking the black paint with the red on the inside like this. I'm absolutely loving this color scheme right here. This looks like me right here all day long. I'd like to hear some feedback of what you guys think about this particular color scheme, but that's the scheme that I love. I could spend my time investing my money in weep heads and some of the other hyper scooters on the market, but then I asked myself, would I be truly satisfied with purchasing those scooters? And the final result that I came up with was that no, I probably wouldn't, because a lightweight scooter with high class technology and premium quality build, carbon fiber. I mean, no, I don't ride scooters in the rain. No, I don't need to ride long range on a scooter that gives me this type of experience with riding hyper scooters. And no, I don't really need to have to ride it on a regular highway. I know enough areas, private areas, where I can enjoy riding in Rion without even having to go on rides like the ride that I'm on here. My thing is having that experience, and that experience being beneficial to my well-being. That's the reason why I ride hyper scooters. And I might sound like a fanatical person, by saying that the reason why I ride is for that purpose, but hey, it's my preference. And I think life as we live it and as we know it should be lived to the fullest extent that makes us happy. And that's just my take on it, and that's just my opinion. The Rion Thrust may not be for everyone, but I feel like it's a perfect scooter for me. And that's why, Gail Thomas, I am going to wait for the entire period of time that it takes for you to build my scooter and ship it to me. And you don't have to worry about me saying, no, I'm going to cancel my order because it's taking too long. That's not me. I'm going to wait for my Rion Thrust, and I'm going to be happy waiting. Now, there are times when I've looked at other things that I wanted to explore, like EUCs, the S20, for instance. I was looking at the S20, and I said, man, this is incredible the way that they made this scooter. It's perfect for a beginner person like myself, who would just want to be able to stand up on that on that EUC, and know that it has features that's going to support my learning process and riding it. But then I said, you know what? I'm 51 years old. My body don't heal the way that it used to whenever I get into, accidents, etc. And so I thoroughly enjoy watching individuals like Cooch and the guy from Wrong Way. I think his name is Adam, and Ginger on Wheels, and some of the other guys ride their EUCs. But I'm not an EUC guy. My thing is definitely hyper scooters. And coming from the Dualtron X2 and going to the Rion Thrust, where I know I'm going to be standing, I think this is definitely something that I can make a transition to and be totally happy doing. Now, on this video, I've talked more than I've ever talked on any of my other videos, because at this point, my PEV experience has grown. It has grown exponentially to a point where I enjoy it. And it's not just a sport for me. It is a way of life. It is a way of dealing with all the things that are happening in the world around me. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you could agree that it's a lot of stuff happening. And the ability to be able to jump on my PEV and just ride and explore the scenery and enjoy the moment is a luxury in and of itself. And I hope that all the rest of you guys can experience this as well. At this point in my ride, I'm probably pushing close to, I'm probably right at over 20 miles. And the Dualtron X2's battery, it hasn't even been tapped, because I did a lot of downtown riding at 25 miles per hour and 35 miles per hour. But this stretch like this road that I'm on now is basically considered as a highway road a little farther down. And I just passed a police officer who was monitoring traffic coming out of this school here, because as you can see, a whole lot of cars are parked beside the road as parents are there to pick up their kids from school. And hey, I ride respectfully, so I get respect. Of course, I was looking in my rear view mirror to make sure that the officer didn't look at me and say, well, what in the world is this guy riding, and come and follow me and try to, and try to ask me questions or anything. So I was conscious of that as well. I'm always conscious of doing things that could possibly cause me to be flagged or stopped by a police officer. And I've mentioned on some of my Facebook feeds and on my Facebook page, North Carolina Scooter Riders, that I communicate with my local authorities. I've even talked with the DMV about riding my hyper scooter on the highway, on the road, with freedom. And in each case, I've always gotten positive feedback. So for individuals that say that, well, okay, I'm catching a whole lot of grief about riding my scooter. I always ask, well, do you advocate for the freedom to ride by talking to your local authorities or by inquiring about whatever regulations you could get to safely ride, to ride your scooter on the road without any problems? And that's what I always ask, because here in my small town here in North Carolina, when I advocate for riding my scooter, I never get any negative feedback. I've never gotten any negative feedback, to be honest with you. I've even went to DMV to try to get a tag for the DX2, and they told me that it wasn't required. And so I had to leave it at that, and I left it at that. So I ride freely and I enjoy riding, and I ride in a respectful manner where I'm not riding like a nutcase around people walking or pedestrians walking beside the road or in a park area. And I always ride, and normally, like in this clip right here, I'm riding pretty fast in this clip right here, probably about 55 miles per hour or so. And it's because I'm on what's considered as a highway road. And on this road, the speed limit is 55 miles per hour. And on the X2, riding 55 miles per hour, I mean, it's easy. I mean, this machine, I'm right at 215 pounds, and I'm continuously losing weight, which is awesome thing. But at my weight, and I'm 6'4", and the scooter with the seat on it weighs probably close to 160 pounds. In this clip right here, I'm riding with that Sony SXR, something like that, speaker, and that speaker probably weighs about 10 pounds, or by itself. So I'm riding a vehicle that's about 170 pounds, and yet I'm still able to keep up with traffic as well as ride at the speed of traffic. The X2 is a beast. I mean, and whenever I got done with this ride, there's something that I noticed that was like also incredible. I took and did a heat check on my motors to see how hot they were, because I rode pretty hard the last stretch of my ride home, which I'm almost there now. And the motors did not even seem heated. I mean, they did not even get hot. I don't know, I don't know if it's because of the way they're made, but they were not even hot. And I was very impressed with that. And here on this stretch here, this road is actually a very bumpy road, but you couldn't really tell it because I keep my suspensions on soft at all times now. I started out riding with my suspension on stiff, and that's when I was like over 147 pounds. 247 pounds. I was close to 250 pounds when I started riding scooters. And I went on a Nutrisystem diet and started portion eating, and then I started exercising and doing different things, and I dropped the weight. And after I dropped the weight, I realized that my scooters got faster, and I also realized that my experience of riding, was improved even more so after I lost the weight. And so now, when I'm cruising down the road, I realized that, just months ago, my scooter wasn't able to perform like this because I was at a much heavier weight. So guys that are heavier, that might be something that you want to consider, possibly losing a little weight. And not saying that, not fat shaming or accusing you of being overweight, but just simply saying that if you want to have the best experience, get your body in shape for it as well. And although it may not look like it all the time, but when I'm riding, I am very observational of my surroundings. I always look at everything that's going on. I mean, the dips in the road, the cars ahead. I try to keep my peripheral focus on about 200 yards away from me in the front. And, and I'm checking my mirror just as if I'm driving a vehicle, because dangers are always just around the corner if you're not careful. But I am just looking forward to the day when I can get on my Rion Thrust and cruise down the road and just know that I'm riding the top dog of the game. And there might be other scooters, in your opinion or in somebody else's opinion, that are much better than the Rion Thrust. But hey, for me, the Rion Thrust is as good as it gets. And I look forward to that experience of riding the scooter that gives me that outlook on the whole hyper scooter experience. And I started my journey with the Wolf Warrior 11, and at the time it was the fastest scooter on the market. Whenever I first got it. Well, it wasn't the fastest scooter on the market, but it was considered as a hyper scooter because it could get up to 50 miles per hour. And believe it or not, the Wolf Warrior still gets that 50 miles per hour, and it still charges all the way up to the same percentage that it did whenever I first got it. I mean, Caboo is a solidly built scooter. The only reason why I didn't go with the Wolf Warrior GT is because it's a step down from what I'm experiencing with the Dualtron X2. And I was looking for something, out of them with 84 volts possibly, and with the potential for 100 miles of range. So, guys, thanks for watching my video. And if this content is something that you like, please subscribe to my channel. I don't know where I'm going with the YouTube channel, but I know I enjoy riding hyper scooters, and I know I enjoy just sharing my experience, and also doing whatever I can to help anybody else that's looking to get into riding scooters, electric scooters, and just enjoying the experience. So with that, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you on the next one. I have a little bit over 1,500 miles on the DX2, and that's counting 500 and some change on the other display I used to have, and then yeah, so we're good. All right, my recording looks like it was a success as well. So with that, this is John Q, and I'm out with the DX2.